Welcome to Interviews of Grief, the show where we explore the depths of human emotion. I'm your host, Megan Pruitt. Grief is a universal experience that often hides in the shadows of our lives, rarely discussed openly. But it's through these heartfelt conversations that we find healing and hope. This is where we bring to light the story of those who have faced loss and the myriad of emotions that come with it. We're here to discuss the good, the bad, and the sometimes ugly aspects of grief as we seek to honor the memories of those we've lost and extend a helping hand to others navigating the same path. So join us as we embark on this profound journey, turning sorrow into strength, one conversation at a time. Welcome to Interviews of Grief, the space where we navigate the intricate landscapes of loss and resilience. I'm Megan Pruitt, your host, and in this episode, I'm honored to share a healing conversation with Brandon Janous. Brandon is not only an accomplished author of Just Do, but also a devoted father of three, an entrepreneur and speaker who has weathered the storm of losing his wife, Rachel, to stage 4 breast cancer. Join us as we delve into the depths of raw and honest discussions about the post-grief journey, unveiling the art of being present with our loved ones amid the echoes of loss. Together with Brandon, we confront the taboo feelings that often accompany grief, unraveling the complexities that many shy away from. In this episode, we'll go ahead and explore the poignant narratives of life on the other side of grief as a widower, gaining insights into the resilience that emerges from the shadows of sorrow. I invite you to listen closely as we navigate this intimate terrain, discovering the wisdom that arises from Brandon's journey and finding solace in the shared experiences of the human heart. This is Interviews of Grief, where stories of loss become beacons of strength. Let's listen to Brandon's story. Hello and welcome to Interviews of Grief. I'm so excited to announce my guest, Brandon Janous. He is the author of a book, Just Do. It is wonderful. We've had kind of the pleasure of getting to know each other for a joint business venture. And in his book and in life, Brandon chronicles the loss of his wife to stage 4 breast cancer. But what I love about the book is that it's about so much more than just the loss. And it's really about the perspective of life and some of the gifts that he was given to his wife. We also share a very fundamental bond in that we lost loved ones and we believe that they have a story that deserves to be told. So welcome, Brandon. Thank you so much for joining me.
Well, thank you. I'm thrilled to be here. I appreciate you giving me the avenue to talk. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. So why don't you go ahead and just tell me a little bit about your story, what got you to this point?
Yeah, so I am a single dad of 3 currently. That was not part of my plan in life. No one ever plans that, right? Whether it's through loss or divorce or whatever, no one ever signs up for something to then do it on your own. But in 2018, my wife got diagnosed with breast cancer. And actually the first go around, it was pretty run of the mill, and I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but most people beat breast cancer, that's what it comes down to. And so, after the initial shock wore off of like, oh no, like, I can't believe this is us, we just went after it. And Rachel was super healthy, super young, was able to kick its butt the first time around. And then about a year after the original diagnosis, getting past all of it, doing all the necessary steps to be better, it came back in her bones, eventually spread into her spinal fluid and then her brain. And once that happened, we knew that medically speaking, there was nothing they can do. You don't remove bone, right? It's just there. And so things changed pretty quickly for us. And, Rachel did an amazing job preparing us for what life would look like without her. You can choose to have the woe is me attitude, or you can choose to have the attitude of just giving everything you've got left. And that's what Rachel chose to do for everybody. It was such a beautiful, hard, but special time to be able to have a front row seat to the day-to-day of Rachel just ministering to people that came into her lives or that had been in her lives. And so today I am a dad to 3 amazing children that I'm so blessed to get to walk and do life with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like, and this was the first thing that I wanted to talk to you about, is like the perspective and how your perspective with Rachel and the anticipatory grief, because you guys could see this coming. And that's one of the parts where I'm like, I just wish I could know her. The whole time I'm reading your book, I just think she's so incredible. And so you talk about initially, there's a point in the book saying, at first, maybe for a quick minute, you were like, what did we do to deserve this? Like, and how
Yeah,
you quickly shifted those thoughts and conversations to why not us?
yeah,
Why should it be anybody but us? And we trust in God with all that we have. And I think you were, it's so lucky that you were given, and it's weird to quantify luck in this terms, but
yeah,
that Rachel helped you get that perspective so quickly. And what a gift that was, because so many people don't get it until years later, maybe sometimes.
yeah, you're so right. Man, perspective changes pretty quickly
Yeah.
when really all we were trying to do for 2 years was have another day,
Yeah.
find another treatment. Nothing else really mattered, right?
Yeah.
And so the day-to-day mundane things that we as humans argue about, get frustrated about. I
Yeah.
think we've all been there with finances.
Oh,
Finances is
gotcha.
right. Marriage issues, relationships, parenting, all the things that come in our day to day, they all matter. For me to say they don't matter is not
Yeah.
true. They all matter. But it's amazing when all that matters is living another day,
Yeah.
how most things, at least in that season of my life, just didn't matter. None of it mattered. Nothing
Yes.
else. It like all that mattered was another day and
Yeah.
trying to figure it out and doing it together. And I was talking to a friend about this the other day. I don't think, and I hope and I pray that my perspective stays that way,
I
uh,
know.
because it's easy to get into the day to day
I
and the
know.
drama and the things. And I think I know I'm a better human because of walking through that.
Yes.
I think I'm a better friend. I think I'm a better business partner. I think I'm a better dad. I think I'll be a better husband to somebody maybe one day,
Yeah.
because the small stuff, man, it just
I know.
doesn't matter. But it's hard to have that perspective if you don't walk through it. It's easy for me to say it now,
I
but
know.
because we have bills and we have debt and we have things that have to get done
Yeah.
and we have Christmas coming up and we have all the things. But I was just lucky enough to have a person in my life, or blessed enough to have a person in my life that kind of had that perspective before getting sick. And then
Yeah.
after getting sick, it just was a whole nother level. And I got to do life with her for 10 years. And it was
Yeah.
a beautiful thing.
And I think like it's so resounding in your book that she was your balance and that you are so honest about your professional career where you say, like that you sucked at things, like you weren't necessarily always present. It was
Yeah.
a simple fact. I'm using your words.
Yeah.
That you were obsessed with work, and that I think what was really cool is that she always let you be the hero in the eyes of your
Mhm.
children. That
Mm.
stuck with me because it's not easy to do. And I just thought that was so special. And she kind of, even like you were saying, you can tell a little bit about how you guys went out in the RV and that journey, but that she was your balance. And my husband is very much this for me too, of like, reel it on back a little bit, because I'm so focused on professionally. And that's changed so much after losing my mom. But it sounds like Rachel was that good balance for you.
Yeah, man. Oh, the stories I could tell. And
Yeah.
you're right, the fact that she allowed me to always be the hero. I could be
Yeah.
so absent. I could be I here, but not here, right? We've all
Yeah.
been there. Um, I had a season in my life where I was traveling a ton and doing well financially, which
Yeah.
I thought that's what mattered. I thought
I
I've got
know.
to be the provider. That's what I do. I'm good at this. I'm impacting people. And I remember Rachel saying, like, yeah, you're impacting a ton of people on the road, but you're not doing it at home. You're
Yeah.
not here. And that leads us to the RV. So I was on the road one week, and she called and said, "Hey, I don't think this is going to work like this
Yeah.
anymore." You know, and
And this is pre-diagnosis too, right?
pre-diagnosis, which is such a special thing. This was
Yeah.
2017 or 2016, and she said, we're going to come with you. We're going to go wherever you go." And I was like,
Yeah.
So this is 3 kids under 5, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
You're
no,
like, you're
that's
what?
yeah, that doesn't work. And she said, "No, we are, and we're gonna do it soon." And so she looked into it and found a motorhome, and we packed all of our stuff up. And 6 weeks later, we hit the road for a year. And you talk about learning what matters in life when you have 40 feet of space and there's nowhere you can go. And the main thing is right there in front of you. It's the kids, it's your spouse, it's the person that needs your 5 or 10 minutes
Yeah.
right then. The webinar can wait, the conference call can wait, the work can
Yes.
wait, it all can wait. And I'm so grateful for that season before she got sick. Because one, we got to spend a year together in 40 feet. Like we
Yes.
were just present, we were together, we did every single thing
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be being on this podcast and kids running around and screaming. That's just what you got.
Yeah.
That's
That's real life. Yeah.
that's real life. And it was far from perfect. And there were so many issues when it came to that RV. Man, it was a headache. But the season of togetherness, me changing my perspective, finding my purpose, um, realizing that I wasn't what Rachel needed, what the kids needed, and I'm not saying we all need 40 feet of RV to do this, right? Like,
No. Yeah.
but just I realized like 10 minutes, pausing for 10 minutes and going to play with the kids is an
Yep.
eternity to them. It's an
Yes.
eternity. It's
Yes.
all they long for. It's all they need.
I
And
know.
when you don't, when you ignore it, um, they're not important to you.
I
That's
know.
all they feel. That's all they see. Well, wait, so the
Yeah.
phone's more important. So the work's more important. So as a 6-year-old, 5-year-old, 4-year-old, 3-year-old kid, that's all they know, that
Yeah.
something else is more important than them. And so I'm just so grateful for that season because it just taught me so much more about being a present spouse, a present husband. And I didn't know how, a present dad. I didn't know how bad I would need that in the
Yeah.
coming years.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I think there is, it's such a gift that you get that kind of perspective and then you get to carry it into the times of her illness. And what was so interesting to me is that you said in the book, one of Rachel's biggest fears is that people would turn to Jesus or would turn away.
Yeah.
And that would be because, she had maybe had the realization that she wasn't going to beat it. But with your perspective, you say that the day that she went to be with God is the day that she beat cancer for good. And I'm reading that and I'm like, I had always felt like COVID got my mom, but I'm like, no, that's the day that my mom beat COVID. And I
Yeah.
loved that. And I thought it was so profound. And it's just like, if you can shift that perspective, that's so powerful. And talk to me just a minute about kind of like that fear and holding your faith through such a
Mm,
period where, you and your family were robbed,
mm,
especially the kids.
yeah. Yeah, man, that was I can't take credit for that. That was Rachel. That
Yeah.
was Rachel's attitude and her she came to the realization that her purpose was to be here, to live,
Yeah.
and then to die with cancer. Like that was what she was here to do. And she was also other than leaving us and the kids, like she was ready. She was
Yeah.
ready. Like
Yeah.
and that just taught me so much about our life here is short. Like, man, we are
Oh,
here
I
for such
know.
a short period of time. And watching her be ready to be home
Yeah.
was such a beautiful like people would come into that hospital room expecting um just pain and hurt and sorrow, and they would
Yeah.
leave there ministered to because Rachel would just love and encourage
So cool.
and it was just such a special time and did that for our kids too. Like we didn't
Yeah.
listen. one of the things we learned early, or we decided early on, is we were not going to whisper. We were
Yeah.
gonna talk about this because this is real life. And if
Yes.
we had whispered and we had said, "Hey, don't worry, mommy's going to get better. Hey, don't worry, God's got this." Like,
Yes.
because we can do that, we can fall into that, and we just decided, hey, we were going to just tell them the truth. And
Yeah.
I remember the hardest conversation I had to have when the doctors decided. We were in the hospital. We had been there for a week and a half or so, and the doctors decided there was nothing else they could do.
Yeah.
Radiation was doing worse to her body than it did not doing it. They just decided, we're just going to make her comfortable. That's all we
Yeah.
can do. And I remember having to have that conversation with my kids that mommy's not going to come home.
Yeah.
That Jesus is going to take mommy, and that she's going to be healed, and that she's going to beat cancer, and that there's going to be no more doctor's appointments, and no more uncertainty, and no more
Yeah.
pain. And that when she goes home to be with Jesus, daddy gets to come home and be with y'all.
Yeah.
And so they knew, like, when I came home the night that it all happened, that mommy went to be home with Jesus. Um, and there was some relief in that,
Yes.
which is I'm sure you're going to get there, but
No, no, it's exactly
uh,
where I'm going.
a
Yeah.
conversation with my pastor, gosh, just a couple days before Rachel passed, was he told me it's okay to be relieved
Yeah.
when this ends. And I thought, man, you can't say that. You can't say it's okay to be relieved when my wife dies and leaves me to,
Wow, I know.
uh, but man, was he right.
I know.
Because there was just so much pain and uncertainty and hurt and um, I just helplessness.
Yes.
Being the support, as I know, being the support is so hard. There's nothing you
Yeah.
can do, and it's so helpless. And so being able to release that and go
Yeah.
home and be dad, and this was March 1st, 2020. COVID hit 2 days later. The country
I
shut
know.
down. And so,
I know.
like, another huge blessing in all this. I talk about all the things that God put into place to
And
make
how
this.
it lined up.
Yeah, absolutely. From the RV and getting that year to COVID not happening before she got sick, so we could actually be with
I
the kids
know.
could be with their mom. I could be with Rachel every single day, every single night. And then I hate to say there's a blessing in COVID, especially with what you went through, but
No,
for
but I get it.
to be able to be together, like,
Yeah.
a lot of people would look at that and be like, well, man, so your wife dies and then all of a sudden your kids are home from school. But, like, nobody knew what to do during COVID. We were all lost.
No.
Nobody had any idea. And we got to be together and do it together and figure it out and fail over and over again. And, all the things that come with that.
Yeah.
But we got to have our little circle and do it
Yeah.
all day to day, moment by moment, second by second. And it was really special.
That's so cool. And I read that part in there about the being relieved.
Mhm.
And it was so special to me because it's like I didn't even know I needed the permission to
Oof.
feel like that emotion was okay. And there's so many people out there that probably recognizes that they're relieved, but you almost have the stigma like, oh God, I don't know if I should feel this way.
Yeah.
And I've often tried to articulate it and say that it was harder for me to watch my mom suffer than it was to lose her.
Mhm.
And I mean, it was 30 days, and I know you had a lot longer of just suffering unimaginably and watching my mom fight so hard. And it was like your pastor gave that to you, and then through your book, you gave it to me. And then I want to share really quick. I think it was Hadley that you go into to tell her that your wife has passed, and you haven't been home. You have not barely left your wife's bedside. And for 3 little kids, they miss their dad, and you had a wonderful support system that stepped in, but it's still not their dad. And so they knew, because like you were saying, you had been so honest
Mhm.
and not whispered. They knew that if mommy went home, she was not suffering anymore.
Mhm.
So she says to you, Daddy, I'm so glad you're home. And I'm so glad mommy is too. And then
Mm.
you wrote, I was home, mommy was too, and I was relieved.
Mm.
And I can remember watching my mom suffer. They like removed the ventilator, and she
Yeah.
lasted an hour without it. And I kept thinking, like, oh my God, how long an hour felt like
Oh, yeah, sure.
forever. And I'm watching my mom on FaceTime, and then I see the numbers of her heart rate just so methodically go down.
Mm.
And I was relieved. There's no other way to put it. And it was like, people
Wow.
just need to know, I think, that are going through this, it's okay. That's an okay
Yeah,
emotion to have, right?
yeah. Wow,
And
yeah,
it's
yeah. I
yeah,
mean, hearing you say that too, it's like, um, I don't know that I've heard someone else say that, and so it's, when you hear it almost give me permission again that it's
yeah,
okay, that it was okay to have
yeah.
that feeling, because when you're right in the middle of it, you're like, "There's no way, there's no way, there's no way there's a
No.
because there's always hope, and there's always, prayer, and there's
Yes.
always a miracle, and there's always,"
Yes.
but at the same time, for me, being able to go be dad again was
Yeah.
necessary, and my kids needed that, and
Yes.
and I would have done the uncertainty. I would have done the
Yeah.
appointments. I would have done them forever if that's what it took.
Yeah.
But, he knew. He knew, and like Rachel said, my job here is done. I remember
Yes.
she said, I've done all I can here. My job here is done. All I have left
Yes.
to give is
Yeah.
Jesus, and that's what I'm gonna do until he takes me." And I feel like I almost had it easy because I had a
Yeah.
partner that was willing to say that and not
Yes.
believe. I've now that I'm a part of this community of widows and widowers, like some of the spouses would I don't wanna say Rachel gave up, but wouldn't talk about what might happen because they didn't that felt like giving up, right? They wouldn't talk
Yeah.
how it's gonna look when they're gone. Rachel gave me permission to do all the things,
Yes.
going forward and gave me even direction on how I should be and what I should do, and,
Yes.
was just
Yes.
thoughtful in her dying. Like,
I wanted to ask you too. So, for people that haven't read the book, and it's really such a good read. And again, it's not just about Rachel, it's about life. It's
yeah,
just a book about life. And especially, I think, if you're a parent. But I wanted
mhm,
to ask you, since she's passed, so you have, well, let me back up. You have your last date with her that
yeah,
is like
yeah,
so special. And she hands you some notes in her phone, and you're like, when did you write this?
yeah,
And it's basically like a guide
yeah,
of probably what she had been worried about, what had been on her heart,
mhm,
but it also championed you, gave you a guide, gave you reinforcement that you could do it. And you said kind of like she would come in and out of sleep as you're reading it. How often do you refer back to that?
man, all the time. I mean,
Yeah,
almost a daily basis
I would think
because
so.
yeah, because it she literally mapped out what
I
life
know.
was gonna look like, right?
Yeah.
One of the things she said was do more of the things you love with the people you love.
Go play
You know,
golf.
go play golf, right? And
Yeah.
so and little backstory on that, like, we had a little bit of debt, not a lot of debt, but Rachel was
Yeah.
anti-debt, right? And so,
Yes.
her whole thing was, "Until we pay off all of our debt, you're not joining the club. You're just not
Yeah.
gonna do it," right? Because there's a local club, right, and I really wanted to join
Mhm.
with my dad, and so as you read the book, you see one of her 8 things she said to me was, "Go join the club with your dad. Do more of the things you love with the people you love."
Yeah.
Because we can't take it with us,
No.
when you're dying, the debt doesn't matter. Not that you want to leave that with somebody. We don't want to be irresponsible. I'm not saying
No,
that, but
no.
the
It's
little
a
things
maybe a balance of both, right?
balance of both, yeah, and so I share that all I shared that with a buddy the other day. We were talking about doing this trip to go watch our team play in the Cotton Bowl, and, he's like, "Man, things are it's been a tough year, things are tight," and I just quoted Rachel. I said, "Well, do more of the things you love with the people you love," and he
Yes.
booked it that night, and so, it's one of those things where it's like, we don't wanna be irresponsible, but we aren't promised. We are not promised another Cotton Bowl. We're not promised
No.
another, time to hang with our dad and do these things or take the trip or,
I know.
make memories for the kids, and so, um, daily, I am reminded of that conversation and those, whether it was the permission or the guidance or whatever you wanna call the things that she gave me. It's a
Yeah.
daily thing.
Yeah, for sure. And, I just quickly want to touch on this. And I think it goes into perspective. I think it goes into Rachel's testament too. But you say in here, as I sat in the chair right next to her hospital bed, tears rolling down my face with her hand in mine, watching her rest in such peace, I couldn't help but smile, knowing for the first time in a very long time, Rachel had no more pain, she would suffer no more, and she would cry no more tears. And that's what led then to, the relieved component of all this. And I just remember, like, I hung up the phone and I just like took this deep breath and I was like, oh my God, she doesn't have to fight
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
And it's just powerful stuff. This book is so good. You did a wonderful job.
Well, thank you. It's just a story. It's just telling stories. And like you
Yeah.
said, it's not a book about grief. I know a lot of the conversations you have are
Yes.
right. It's a book about living though, right?
Yes.
It's a book about going after it and taking your chances and just living
Yes.
a life well, right? Not
Yes.
because I've done it. Matter of fact, I'm the worst character in the book, if we're being completely honest. Like, not because I've done it well,
Yeah.
but because I've been able to recognize how poorly I've done things, and
Yes.
not that I've figured it out because I'm not there today, but just through
Yes.
presence, I think I've been able to recognize, man, what matters.
I know.
And again, I'm a failure every day in this, but I think through what I've been through, I've gotten better, and
Yeah.
I can challenge others to do the same, and I hope they never have to walk the walk we walked. Right? That's not
Yeah.
something I want anyone to have to experience. But
I
through
know.
our journey and through our pain and through our walk, and through Rachel's testimony, I hope that people can can take the current perspective they have and maybe flip it a little bit.
Yeah.
And the season that we're in, being the holidays, I don't know when this will come out, but there will be another holiday if it's not before then.
Hmm.
And being present with your people
I
and
know.
understanding that none of us are promised to be there next year.
I
You
know.
know, Rachel was perfectly healthy, really young. No reason it should have been her. But at the same time, we had time to prepare for this. Every
Yes.
day, I'm introduced to a new widower, or a parent that loses a child or loses a spouse unexpectedly every single
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
And so, just don't take the time you have for granted. You
Yes,
just don't.
absolutely. I it was like one of maybe my mom had been gone maybe 3 weeks, and I'm sitting at a friend's birthday party, and I had this, like, moment where I'm, like, looking around at every person, and I think one other person had lost their dad there, but I looked at everybody and I was like, everyone here at some point in their life is going to know this pain. It
Mm,
might not be exactly the same. It might not be their mom. Like you were saying, it could be a spouse or, God forbid, a child. It's like, it's grief is so universal. It doesn't know, any race, gender, socioeconomic status. It's coming for us all. And I think well, in my case, I felt very underprepared. I think you might have gotten the gift of time and been a little bit more prepared. Not that it makes it any easier,
mm,
but it's like that's the point of why I wanted to do this podcast, is because we don't prepare for it enough. Sometimes it catches us off guard. And then it's what we do with it on the other side of things, like just, exactly what you're talking about. And I think grief can be wrapped up into this gift of perspective.
mm.
And there's some weight that comes with that, though. And I wonder if you feel it too, where I'm like, now I know what I want to do, just like my mom, what I want to do a little bit differently. And it's like, I feel this extra weight to be really present and
Yeah.
purposeful and just like there. So I know exactly what you mean.
I love that. Yeah, it is. It's a great example is this morning. Cooper's like, "Daddy, you think you could pick me up from school and let's go have a lunch date?" And in the
Oh,
past, I would have said, "No, I'm not
yeah.
going to."
No,
Why would I do, like, why?
I know.
But yeah, I'm going
Yeah,
to. Yes, Cooper, I will,
I know.
because those moments matter. They just do. And
I
so,
know.
can we always do that? No. But it was just one of those things. I think in the past, it would have been a hard no.
Yeah,
And, today it's like, yeah. Sure, we
Yeah,
can do that.
exactly. And
So,
it's important too. It's like sometimes people can't find their way. And one of the best pieces of advice my dad had told me is like, just in life, sometimes it's too much to look at like the full next 3 months of your life. Sometimes look at the week or just look at the next 5 minutes. And it's like, find just the little tiny ways that you can be present.
mhm.
It doesn't have to be the grand gesture. It's going to pick up your kid for lunch or meet, trying to get Christmas shopping done early so then I can actually be there and be present with my kids and not worried about, the gifts, the things that don't even matter that they're not even going to remember. But it's just finding the little first step.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so good. Yeah, especially in this season, man, when things are just
Oh my God, I
crazy.
know.
It's just crazy, and we don't have time for anyone or anything extra.
I know.
Take a moment and pause and focus on what matters most. This
For
lunch
sure.
to Cooper matters more to her
Yeah.
than it ever could to
Yes.
me, and
I
it
know.
just means the world. And she's probably bragging about me to her friends
I
right now,
know.
like,
I
"Daddy's gonna
know.
come get me, and we're gonna have," and it's not a big deal, but,
I know.
it is a big deal
Yeah.
to me.
For sure. So, okay, I ask everybody in their episode for 3 words that describe your current state of grief. And one of the things that I've kind of enjoyed doing is reflecting on how far I've come, but in the
Yeah.
same moment, giving myself grace because some days are better than other. What are the 3 words right now that would kind of describe your current state of grief?
Man,
Mm.
that's so good. And I know you said you asked me this question, but I don't remember you asking me this question offline. So you
I'm putting you
probably
on the spot.
did.
Sometimes
It
it's
went to
better.
my spam. It went to my spam probably.
Yeah,
Uh,
probably.
so it's so interesting with grief, especially when you have 3 kids that are
Yeah.
all dealing with it differently, even almost 4 years out, right? So the first, hmm, so the first word that come to mind, I want to make it my third, so I'm not going to go there yet.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
um, I think balance for
That's a good
me,
one.
it's a juggling act. It's a juggling
Yeah.
act because it's not
Being
just
mom, being dad.
yeah,
Yeah.
and not just my kids, it's my in-laws, it's my parents, it's her friends that all have, like, there's not a day that doesn't go by where some memory's not being shared or someone's not sending me something that reminds them of Rachel, all the things.
Yeah.
So just to balance it all and, also, it's okay to hurt, it's okay to have pain, it's okay even
Yes.
4, 5, 10 years later, right? But not to get stuck in it.
Yes.
And, but for me, it'll always be a balance, I think, of okay, what does she need from me? What does he need from me? What does
Yeah.
she need from me? And just trying to um, navigate through it. I mean, here's the deal.
Yeah.
There's as you know, you've been through a first year, right? Right?
Yeah.
We've done that, right? And so we're
Yep.
like, "Oh, man, we got through the first year." But that doesn't mean the first stop, right? Yeah, the
Yes.
first Christmas happened, but it doesn't mean the first date or the first
I
sweet
know.
16 or the first wedding or the first grandchild or like the first are never gonna end. So it's
I know.
always gonna be a balance of how to and balance might not even be the best word, but that's all I could think of just, um, holding space in the best way I can
Yeah.
for, um, for those that need me most. And and
Yes.
and that's my kids, my in-laws, my parents, but, um, so balance would be one for sure. Um, um, I have my third one. Don't wanna give you yet. My second one, and I have a lot of thoughts going through my mind, so it's not
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Take your
that hard.
time.
I just wanna pick the right word. Um, I'm gonna go with my third one. I'm gonna go with
Okay.
my third one. So I had a conversation with a widow friend of mine the other day, and I'm gonna read it was her 13th wedding anniversary. Um,
Mm,
he had been gone 6 years. This is their 6 years without him, and here's the
yeah.
text. sent me. She said, "Today would have been our
Oh,
13-year anniversary. Sixth one of these without him. Crazy how fast time goes. I want to remember. I never want to forget about him, about our life together, about the love we had. I watched our wedding video this morning, and it felt like I was watching someone else's life. Wild,
mm,
isn't it? How we slowly shift and adjust and grow into this new life, and how that old life can feel a million times away, but somehow it's deeply intertwined with this new life too. I don't miss him as much as I used to. I'm not in love with him the way I used to be. Grateful to be right here for all the healing that's happened in between the 6 of these dates that have passed." And I got that and I said, "Oh my gosh, are you allowed to say you don't miss him like you once did? Are you allowed to say, I don't love him like I once did? Like, are we allowed to say that?" And so for me, because I feel these things, I feel
yes,
all of these things, right?
yes,
Um,
yes.
and so this for me, the word was freedom. Like
Oh,
to be
that's
able
a good
to,
one. Yes.
yeah, to be able to be okay, to
Yeah.
be able to be okay in our process. Not every day, not
Yes.
not, but most days at this point, I'm okay.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know, I miss the heck out of her. I
For
that will
sure.
never change.
I'm trying to look for the page in your book where she gives you your instructions because I think she gives you the freedom. She says
Yeah.
she wants you to
Mm,
move on. She says, find somebody that will love the kids like I do and that freedom. So this was like a deep fear that I had. And I've joined this grief share group, which I've told you about. And I was like, will there be a day where this just doesn't cross my mind as
mm,
often? And this was in the first year. And I was like, God, I probably sound like terrible for saying that. And this sweet woman, she'd only come to like 2 or 3 sessions, told me, she was like, it will be less and less, and your life will grow around the grief. And she was like, it will still be there, but it will not consume you. It will not
mhm.
hold the
Yeah,
weight in the way that it does. And it's like, of course, there's days when it feels heavier than others, but it's like, yeah, that freedom, once you start to like see and turn that corner, I think it is okay. And I don't
yeah,
think enough people talk about it. And my honest opinion is that the way that we can honor their lives is to move on with
yeah.
ours,
So good. Yeah.
But I can't imagine the delicate dance that you've had to do now, kind of going out into the world as a widow. And like, what does it look like for others
Mhm.
that might be in the same shoes as you?
Yeah,
And
well,
then we'll
that
get to your third one.
no, that's a good I think that actually brings me to my 3rd one because I
Okay.
think that so balance, juggling act, freedom,
Freedom.
to be okay. Freedom to
Yeah.
be okay. And I think the last one would be just grace with grace.
Mm. Yes.
Like giving yourself grace, giving
Yes.
others grace, understanding that we are all doing it differently, man. Like, I remember feeling judged for being okay, right?
Yeah.
With kinda what you were saying, like, "Can I even say this? Can I" like,
Yes.
and thinking, "Man, you didn't walk" it's like, I got to grieve a lot of the life with Rachel for 2 years because we knew
Yes.
where this like, so there was
Very.
I had a head start from all the others, right? And
Yes.
so not that it made it easier, but, I just can't imagine judging someone's process
No.
because there's no blueprint. There's no right way. We don't know what happened. We don't know what conversations that were
Yep.
there. And so just having grace in your own grief and others' grief as well, giving that gift of it doesn't matter where you're at.
Yeah.
I'm here with you. I'm gonna hold space with you. I'm gonna love you. I'm sure not gonna judge you. I'm not gonna talk about you behind your back. I'm not gonna talk about you on social media. I'm not gonna
No.
talk like I am going to love you exactly where you are because there is no right way or wrong way to grieve, you know?
100%.
And it's it, I don't know that I've ever felt so judged in my life
Yeah.
except in people having opinions of how I'm grieving or how I'm
Yes.
handling it, or how I'm moving on. So I
Yes.
would say grace and grief would be a big
And
one.
I think it's important for people that don't know you is during the time that you went into RV and now afterwards, your story has reached so many and you've become somewhat of a public figure with a really large social media following. And I cannot imagine if I had been more public in the immediate moments of the grief
Mm,
and leading up to the grief. I can't imagine how people would have judged. And how difficult that must be.
mm,
Like people think that they have a front row seat to your life, but really they have no idea. And also, all they should be concerned about is that right now you're putting one foot in front of the
yeah,
other, doing the best that you can, because that sometimes is all you can do when you're going
yeah,
through this. Just
yeah,
show up and survive. And it's okay to just survive some days. Like,
yeah,
I feel
that's
like that
right.
as a parent, forget grieving.
Yeah.
Like just Jesus, we all need to support each other. Yeah.
That's right. It is the social media world is such an interesting place, and in so many ways, it is beautiful and it's powerful and it's
Yes.
impactful. And I don't know that you and I would have ever met had it not been for
No, I
social media,
know.
right? And so, like,
I know.
conversations and relationships and communities are built through it. And I think
Yes.
there's so much positive that
Yeah.
comes from these platforms. And unfortunately, when you I hate to even call myself a public figure. It's accidental. People
It
grab the
sounds good.
unrelatable
Yeah.
and her story, and then we're interested and have continued to be
Yes.
interested. And but there's just some people that are going to root against us, and they
I
want to
know.
see us fall, and they want to see us fail, and they want to see us mess up, and they want to see us slip up and post the wrong thing or say the wrong thing. And I have put our life out there. I have been very open in public,
Yeah.
in hopes that it's helping people.
Yeah.
It's not a thing I monetize often at all. I
Yeah.
finally did a partnership with a company that made sense, as far as it was just a life insurance company, because I think life insurance matters for everybody. That could be a
Yeah.
whole nother podcast, right?
Yes. Yes, it
Rachel
could.
and I were not prepared when it came to that. And so I am passionate about that, but I don't monetize my social media. I don't use it for that, right? I
No.
use it
I know.
to tell stories. And selfishly, I use it for healing. Like for me, writing
Absolutely.
and sharing and putting things out there was my therapy. And here's what I'll say. And I don't know that I've ever said this publicly, but if you
Okay.
don't love, there's a button that says unfollow. Like, rather than coming in and saying mean things that are hurtful, words
I
hurt. And
know.
here's the deal: my kids don't see them because they don't have social media.
Thank
I don't
God.
look at a lot of them. If I get caught in comments, my day's done, right? So I
Yeah.
don't even look at most of them.
No.
But you know who sees them? My sweet mom. And my poor mom, when she sees someone say something mean about their son or
Yes.
the situation, it hurts her. And so next time you think about saying something rude to someone, and I don't think I'm
100%.
speaking to your audience, because this is not who your audience is, but
No, but yours will listen.
think about
Yeah.
the family, think about the people. And it's the oldest phrase in the book, but if you don't have anything nice to say, why are you
I
here?
know.
Why are we saying it? Why are we tearing people down?
I know in my business when we were like, we had a lot of subscribers, I would say like those are the keyboard warriors, right? And you always hear from the minority louder than you hear from the majority.
Absolutely,
And it's
absolutely.
hard. It is so hard and it will wear you down.
Mm.
And it's just don't hide behind your keyboard to say nasty things. It's not okay. It's not
Well,
productive. Don't
yeah,
assume, you
it's
know.
almost like people forget. I was talking to another widower friend of mine who's much more public than I am. He was on The
Yeah,
Bachelorette. He's got a huge following, and just the judging for moving on, for dating somebody. That's too soon. Who are you to say? Like, if you
I
have never,
know.
even if you've walked the walk, who are you to say that, to
I know.
anyone, right? And then if for some reason it doesn't work out, then it becomes a big thing, right? Because he's going
Oh
through a
yeah.
very public breakup. And it's like, well, wait, like, relationships don't work sometimes. They don't work.
Absolutely.
And just because it happened to be public and you're invested in it, like what gives you the right to be so upset with you don't know the story, you don't know the whole thing that went down.
I
But
know.
in the end, I think a wise decision was made on his behalf and some relationships I've had since Rachel on not getting married and
Yeah.
on making the right decision before we took that step, right? And so like
100%.
but you're so right. It's the keyboard warriors, and I just think they sit at home and enjoy, and maybe it makes them feel better about themselves, you
Yeah.
know? And one of the things me and my buddy were saying is it's like they almost forgot that we lost our person, that we're
Yeah.
still going through these things, that life is
Yeah.
still difficult in so many ways, because all they can see is what's right in front of them, and that our our story didn't fit the narrative that they had played
Yeah.
out in
And two, it's like I think people have to give you grace that more probably than anyone could ever comprehend how bad you would want this relationship to
their.
work out and just fit back into the box and put a new family together and have mom or for women, have dad back into the picture and release some of the pressure and come
Yeah,
together and blend families. Like you want that more than anybody. And it's
yeah,
like maybe that clouds things sometimes, or maybe it's the notion of it all, but you found your way out. And that's okay. That's all
yeah,
right. It didn't work. We're all
yeah.
human. Like, I don't know. I just feel like until you've gone through something similar, you just have no idea who you are or what you're doing. And you just do the best you can every dang day.
Yeah, if y'all can't tell, Megan and I have had some of these chats offline talking
Mhm.
about some of the things that have happened, so
Well, I've been your mom and I read some of them and I'm like,
exactly, so,
what?
um, all that to say, you know, l life is so good.
Yeah.
Life is so good on the other side, right? And,
Yeah.
I told another buddy of mine the other day, like, just who we always check on each other, how
Yes.
are
That's
we? And
so
you don't
good.
know from day to day, you just don't know, right? And I know
I
you're a
know.
part of the community now that you felt like, man, this is so neat to have people that walk the walk and can just simply say, I'm with you and I'm
Yes.
here.
Yeah.
Um, but my situation's not perfect right now. As you know, we've talked about, living situation, all the things that are going on in my life behind the scenes.
I know.
And I'm free and I'm
Yeah.
happy. And I I'm so grateful for the last 4 years or 3.5 years
Yeah.
of doing this life and trying to figure it out and falling flat on my face over and over and over again. But if I could go back to my last word, the grace that I'm given, especially by my kids,
Yeah.
um, when I don't show up the way I should, when I'm not as patient as I should be, when I'm not as present as I should be.
Yeah.
Um, I'm so grateful for the grace that they give me because that's what I'm fighting for. That's what I'm here for. That's what I
Yes.
make. Every decision in my life is based on their comfort, their safety, their security,
Yes.
their happiness. And so knowing that I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
I think that go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and how cool it is to see that some of those values that Rachel gave you every day is now presenting in your kids,
Yeah.
manifesting in your kids.
Yeah,
She gave you the grace, let you be the hero, let you come back from,
absolutely.
hard times, from faults, and like it's living out right in front of your kids.
Man, no one's ever put it that way. That's so good, and that's so
Yeah,
true. Like, I see that now that you say that, like, it it's just continued because,
it was.
yes, I think I've gotten a little bit better in some of these things. We'll never master all these things, right?
No,
One
no.
of the things that Rachel, said, and I don't know, I think I put it in the book, but, about listening with your whole face. That was a big thing.
I don't know if I remember it.
And all too often, we're looking at our phones,
Oh, yeah.
we're looking
Yeah.
at the TV, and her big thing was like, "I need you to be here, and I need you to be here
Yeah.
with your whole face." Because if your kid grows up watching you look here and not giving them your face, it's more important. What's on the phone
Yeah.
is more important. What's on the iPad's more important. What's on the video game's more important. And so, that's one thing that I've tried so hard when they want to tell me a story or when something happened at school
Yeah.
today or really anytime they want my attention, it's given them my whole face. And
Yeah.
that was a Rachelism that I think we could all be
Yeah,
better.
I love that.
Yeah.
And, I wanna like, 2 more small things to kind of round things out. I think it's so important to, like, honor them near the end of the podcast, the ones that we lost, and it just stuck with me. You said that she was the contrast that made our photos so lively. Like, that just I could feel it, I could see it. It was such a testament to who I feel
Mhm.
like she was, and that was so special. And then I end my book that I finish up with my mom's words. And I wanted to end this with some of the words that she said. And
Mhm.
I think this was such a cool part of your book. In each book, there is a postcard that's included. You're still doing this, right?
Yeah,
Before
yeah.
I say it.
Yes, yes, yes.
And it says on here that basically you're kind of, use it as the bookmark for while you're reading, which I did, and then send it to somebody that you've lost touch with. And on the front of the postcard is her words. And it says, the greatest thing we can do for people is to simply show up and just do, because that's what love does. And I love that so much. It's so special. So I had been a guest of another podcast. And to end this, she had asked me what I miss most about my mom. So tell me a little bit, what do you miss most about Rach? And I think
Man,
that it's okay, it's
yeah.
what do you miss most?
Yeah, I think I miss gosh, the most is hard because there's just so many
Yeah,
simple things, but I think I miss having a constant cheerleader,
yeah,
like, in my bad, in my good,
yeah,
Megan and I are starting a business together, and Rachel would just cheer me on, even if she knew, like, that's probably not gonna work. Or,
yeah, go
not
do
that
it.
ours
Yeah,
isn't, not that ours isn't, but, just anything I'd go after, anything I was trying, because 'cause I'm a
yeah,
serial entrepreneur like you, I always wanna be doing something else, and, she just never discouraged me. It was
yeah.
always my number one fan, and I miss having someone root me on in all my crazy ideas,
I
and,
know.
I'm just so great. And she's still there. Like the voice is still
Yes.
there. Go for it. Go for it. Just do. Just go for it.
Yeah.
Just do it. Just show up. Just be, and so that to me was a quality that I long for in a partner.
Yeah.
And I think I see so many relationships in my life that's just the opposite. That it's,
Yeah.
well, that's a bad idea, or that's never going to work, or why would you do that, or
Yes.
why don't you just, and that's safe, maybe that's safe, but I I miss having a cheerleader to cheer
Yeah.
me on in every crazy idea I have.
Yeah, absolutely. I talked about that in my mom's eulogy, that she was my safe harbor, and that
Mhm.
I believe I've had the professional success that I have because she made me feel like I could do anything. And now that will be my sole mission to replicate for my
I
kids
love
and my
that.
husband and for others. And it's like, go out there, just like you're saying, just do. And just have that blind faith that the people that we love that aren't here anymore had. It shouldn't go away. It's still
Yeah,
there.
so true. I love
Oh
that.
gosh. Well, thanks so much, Brandon, for joining me. This has been such a pleasure. You guys can get the book Just Do off of Amazon, or go to, is it brandonjanous.com?
Yep, that works.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank you. This
perfect.
was so fun, and thank you for normalizing this conversation
Yeah.
and making it okay to talk about hard, because um, it's not easily findable, like it's easy to hide it. It's easy just to sit on it. And I think sitting on our grief and not communicating and not talking and not finding community and not finding supports, the only thing that I would say is wrong. Like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's, and you don't have to right away, but I would encourage you to find your people, find your
Yes.
community, find those that walk the walk. Cause I know you told me you finding that was so big for you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So thank you for opening the dialogue and making it normal to talk about things that are hard, because there's so
Yeah.
much beauty on the other side of it too. Like, I don't know
Absolutely.
what your other podcasts have been like, but I hope this isn't depressing.
No, no, no.
Right? Like this is, if anything else, it should encourage you and equip you and just make you want to do what Rachel said and be better, and just show up for people and love people well. So thank
Absolutely.
you. I appreciate
Yeah.
what you're doing for the community.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.